can develop this activation is, I'm gonna just use a simple term. You got to get out of your way and you have to allow. And like you said, you won't. Well, something you said earlier. You mentioned. Darn it. What did you say? Well, I'm gonna say how I heard it.
Say how you heard it.
In order for you to incur activation, you should not be in conflict with yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When you are in a space of awareness where you are trying to implement what we call healing.
Say that part again. You should not be.
You should not be in conflict with yourself. So in other words,
There's something there, but you keep going. I'll let you go.
in other words, we can speak something audibly, right? But we can be far removed from the deep conviction of what we're saying.
Right.
Okay.
We say it because it sounds good outwardly, but deep down inside, you doubt.
You don't believe it.
You don't believe it. You don't trust that that's the truth of being.
Right.
Because the truth is there is no suffering.
Right.
Right? The truth is you are whole.
Right.
The body shows you that you are whole.
Right.
Whenever you do something to it.
Right.
You scrape your knee without you saying nothing, the body restores itself.
Exactly.
You break a bone, they remove the blockage, they put a splint on it, you probably not even thinking about it. Right? But the body is healing itself. The same holds true for the inverse. Well, I don't know if it's going to work. It's going to do whatever you tell it to do.
Right. Because if you don't believe, it ain't gonna happen.
So, when I heard you say you get out of your own way, you both said it, repeated it. It goes back to the meditation, and I'm trying to quantify it real quick. It's like you are not your thoughts.
100.
So
Thanks.
if you are not the thoughts, who is the you
Right.
that's separate from the thoughts? And it's getting that aspect separated from the one that's giving you these random thoughts, that's continuously saying, I don't know, I can't do this. Who is that guy?
Right.
And who is the one that just knows? Who is
Right.
the one that's actually what is it, or what is that's actually doing the healing?
Well, I would say the one that knows is the one that's in that circle.
Right.
That because the one that knows, or that
You mean the one that is the circle?
right, okay. The one that is the circle is in the space of awareness concerning the truth of being.
Right.
And there's always gentle reminders about the truth of being
Right.
all the time. If you're willing to allow yourself to attune to that frequency,
Clear the blockages.
clear the blockages.
Right.
That's if you clear the blockages, that's how you initiate the activation.
All right. So we're gonna talk about clearing the blockages.
Clearing the blockages.
All right. Oh, so you want me?
I mean,
Well, I know people heard it. It's kind of like shadow work.
okay.
Right.
Shadow work. The shadow is not a bad thing. And when we talk about the shadow, people try to, what you see every day for the most part in most people is the presentation.
Right.
The shadow is the stuff that's in the dark, the stuff that's hidden.
Exactly.
The stuff that they may deep down like to do, but they present that they don't do it.
Yeah.
Whatever feel that is in your sexual relationships, your outward activities, so on and so forth. And it's like you keep these things maybe from a certain group, your family members or whatever, but you have maybe a shame about it, a disdain towards it, or whatever the case may be. And what happens is the shadow becomes, in some cases, and there's
Judgment.
it's self-judgment, but self-judgment carries an energy or a vibration with it. And that vibration, actually, we call that a thought form. It becomes a thought form, or someone would say an entity. And this is just one way of explaining a shadow. This is not the all extensive explanation of a shadow. This is just the one I'm using for this conversation. And that shadow actually becomes an entity that you created. So think of it as a baby, right? But you don't like this baby. You don't care about you want the baby to stay in the closet. So what'll happen is things will happen to where when you have dreams, you might see something chasing you in your dreams. This shadowy figure, this thing. Things may happen around your home, like accidents or certain things, based on this shame, guilt, whatever the case, whatever terms you want to use on it. It's just, and in relationships, things happen, and it seems like it's pattern. It goes back to the pattern again, right?
Right.
But what I have experienced in dealing with my shadow, like I always, we talk about like, partying and drinking and so on and so forth. It's like, yo, listen, it's coming to terms with the shadow and saying like, whoa, that's where I was at that point in my life. I can't go back and change it. What's the point of like hating myself over it when that going through that situation was what developed me to be who I am now? All the different things, good, bad, and indifferent. So as you start dealing with the shadow and saying, man, I love you. I love whatever that version of me was.
Right.
Because if I didn't experience that version of me then, again, I wouldn't even be.
Which goes back to the point where you already laid it out before you came here.
Right.
That's what you was gonna do.
Right.
So you could come back.
Right.
To shoot, so you can come back to
the whole.
the whole.
So it's like you are the sum of your experiences.
You are the sum of your.
You are.
How can you not be?
And it's with that we like to perceive and think that we are objective in nature, but we are subjective people.
Quantify that.
Quantify it means this: it's objectivity would mean that you have to look at it three-dimensionally, but your experience is a subjective experience.
Right. Okay, I
went
got you.
through it.
Right.
So when speaking
experiential,
you're
right?
Experiential. So that makes you subjective,
Right.
right? And how so quantify it in the aspect of and let me give you an example. Okay, here's what it is. Something. Just follow me on this. Let's say life is let's say in the whole is a building, right? And in that building, we got 30 levels. We got the outside, we got the outside, right? You got a man, you got so the 30th level will be the highest level, right? You got a man who's outside the door on the sidewalk looking into the building. He's not looking up, he's just looking into the building. Why? Because it's either hot, cold, wet, windy outside. He's exposed to the elements, right? His perspective, his point of view, his subjectivity is that where he's at. Mm-hmm. The man who's inside of the building, first floor, just on the opposite end of the door, he's not dealing with elements. But what he's dealing, he's in the main lobby. He has no comfort, he has no nothing, right? The man who's on the third floor, he's looking at the man on the sidewalk and he's looking at the people out there and he's like, man, there's a lot of people out there. The man on the 15th floor looking over the top and he's like, okay, yeah, I can see this. I could probably see a couple blocks being out in the ocean, looking at the horizon. Mm-hmm. The man on the 30th floor, right, comes down in the elevator and the man on the 15th floor, the man on the third floor, the man on the first floor lobby, the man outside looking at this man, and he's dressed in a rain suit with an umbrella. Right? And they looking at him and they're not laughing. 30 minutes later, it starts raining. Why they, see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. How did the man on the 30th floor know it's going to rain?
Because he had a better perspective.
He has a better perspective and he can see the clouds coming.
Right.
The man on the sidewalk, his vision is skewed. The man inside the building, he's not concerned what's going on because in his perspective, in his subjectivity, I don't have to deal with the elements. I'm going to let him deal with that.
Right.
The man on the third floor, he can't see past the buildings.
Right.
The man on the 15th floor, he's on, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So our subjectivity pushes us to where we at.
Right. Yeah.
And that's just what it is.
That was a great point.
Yeah. So
I was saying, you remember, I was going somewhere with I wasn't.
Well, sometimes you got, in your perspectives, or all of us in our perspective, we have to be like the TV screen, how it was broken down to me probably about 3 years ago, and I just heard it again this morning.
Right.
You have to be the TV screen. The TV screen doesn't change.
Right.
No.
It's what's presented on the TV screen
that changes.
Got things
Horror,
going on.
action, news. Right.
All of that is going on the
TV
TV screen.
Right.
Turn the channels, you'll get this, you'll get that. But the the TV screen never changes.
Right.
And
That's
that's how
powerful.
we have to be as, I would say, as human beings, being the movie screen, letting these things
Just flow.
come and let them go.
Let them
Channel
flow.
flip.
It's the
Let
same
the
thing.
channel
It's,
flip.
it's
Cycle
a
of
meditative
channels.
principle. It's a meditative principle. And yeah, we were the shadow. That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
It's going back to what I said before I forget it again. It's have full acceptance of the shadow
Yes.
and loving it
Yes.
for what it brought to you, because it was actually a tool. These things that you look down upon was actually a tool to elevate you or project you to a certain place of consciousness. And once you accept that shadow, you become truly whole and complete. And you could speak about these things without having any fear, reservations, or anything, because at the end of the day, everyone goes through something, and everyone has something that, based on their social, economical, familial outlook on life, they put a stigma on it. But in reality, it's just your learning curve,
Exactly.
and it's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you know what? I want to remind you of something I said earlier. You know, even through all of that, keep in mind, you know, you're building a energetic pattern,
Yes.
right? So through each one of these, right, you're building an energetic pattern, or right, you are continuing in one that you've already established.
Right.
So either you're gonna advance forward, right, or you know you're gonna go through it again, and
Which is retardation.
it is.
It's to an extent you could say spiritual retardation.
But and these are the elements that you take with you when you step through the gate of death,
Right.
and either you've advanced or you come back and you do it again.
Right.
Do it again. Is when you say patterns,
Patterns.
right? And you're talking about the snowflake and all of that. Me being in DJing, right? I think about music. So my question would be, who are you when the music start playing? What patterns or shapes you become?
Oh, you know what you become
Oh,
when the
you know, I already know. I
Yeah.
already know.
You know what you
You know
become
what I'm
when the
saying?
music come on.
You know what I'm saying? But then you got to look at the flip side when someone's not used to that music.
It brings them suffering.
It brings them something. They have to get away.
Right.
So, who are you? What are you when these music start playing or these vibrations starts to play? Who are you? Find yourself within the patterns or the vibrations.
That's
It'll let you know.
interesting.
And you know what? There's something else we was talking about earlier this week. We were talking about how a collective vibration or a collective consciousness,
Right.
Right.
you know, it shoots forth, you know, like what we would term as a leader.
Right.
And that leader is the vocal expression of the one frame of
Right.
consciousness.
Right now, the earth is like it's in a healing. It's actually in a healing pattern, and this is, again, I'm speaking in a way that some people are gonna understand, some people are not, and if you don't, it's okay. It's a lot of deaths that's happened over the last few years. You know, the onset of COVID. You know, a lot of we've seen a lot of young people, at least in, you know, from what
in Ukraine,
stuff that's going to Ukraine, African American communities, rappers, so on and so forth. And people are trying to figure, you know, they're like, wow, he was only 16 or he's only 19 and he's only this and that. And it's the speeding up of perception of time and karma. Karma is being burnt up because we're moving to an elevated state of consciousness. And those people that are either they're trying to catch up, or the time they can no longer vibrate in this space of awareness anymore.
They can't take the music out.
They expire. They choose to expire. Situations are called upon them. They're put in certain places and certain areas to where it's time for them to go. And I know it may sound cold and callous. I can only say how I say it.
Right.
And it's you know, in certain communities they may see a crisis coming. You could look for a specific person, but again, we're a collective consciousness, and the earth has been very dyslexic over the past several eons. You know what I'm saying? Ups, downs, lefts, rights. We want to go this way, we want to go that way, and we're clashing. Now we're trying to work things out, and we're moving to an elevated state to where Christ is returning, but he's returning within each and every person that you look at. The consciousness is elevating. It's a collective. It's one being. We are one being. So I say that to bring ease to some of the people that are trying to figure out the suffering is a part of the process, or the perceived suffering is a part of the process. It's the love of God, which is to learn self.
Right.
Be balanced.
Be balanced.
Be balanced.
Be able to go
Left, right, up, down.
What did it say about Yeshua, whom they call Jesus the Christ? He was amongst the tax collectors, the harlots. He went everywhere that the perceivably knowledgeable, intellectual lawgivers, the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes. These were the people that everybody was revering.
Exactly.
But he went everywhere that they wouldn't go.
Right.
And he went to those, not to those who needed him. He went to those
The
that
lost.
need the lost, the sleep.
The lost. Right.
And you can only follow somebody that you see something like yourself within them.
Man, I could take that left right now and say something, but I'm gonna leave it, because if I do that, we gonna go on we gonna go ahead and go 180 or go 245 or something, because
Yeah.
it was an interesting conversation. And somebody said something, and I looked at it, I was like, yo, that actually makes sense.
What's that? You remember what they said?
I do. I don't wanna overstep.
You can say it. We just probably we'll do like
You edit it out.
no I ain't. Oh, is it that bad? That I
It's
need to
not
edit
that
it?
bad, but what I would say is, if I say it, you're gonna be like, ooh. I guarantee.
No, I tell you what, we'll do it off camera.
Let's do it off camera,
we'll do
because
it then.
if I
And
say
then
it,
if
you're
it's
gonna be like, you're gonna look at me like,
And then if it's something we need to discuss, we'll bring it up back on the topic.
no. It goes back to what he said about the lost. About you have to see yourself. For you to follow somebody, you have to see yourself in that person.
Or something that you feel that you desire in
Right.
you, that you want to attach
And
yourself to
it's-
that person.
You know what? Let's table it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's table it, because if I say it right now,
It's gonna be off the chain.
it's going.
It might take us off.
It's gonna get
topic.
epic. It's gonna get uncomfortably epic.
So.
Man,
But
that was-
yeah, man. Oh, good discussion. Good discussion today. You don't have another question or nothing, right? Adon? You good?
I mean, I think we
Yeah,
I think we
touched
addressed the topic pretty good.
right.
I think so too. Hopefully everybody's get edified by it. And like I say, the books that we presented.
The Fourth Agreement by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Four Agreements.
Great book. Four Agreements. Sorry.
right. And the chart. What was that chart?
It was the Kabbalistic Tree of Life.
Yeah.
There's different versions of it. I have an actual. I don't have it with me now. It's downstairs, but I have an actual like a laminated
it's a
copy,
laminated.
and it has the traditional tree. Then it actually has the pillars.
Right.
Boaz, Joachim, and I forget what the middle pillar is called, but
Yeah, just look it up, and I'm pretty sure it'll come up on your thread if you want to get it. If not, then just take a look at it.
And for those of you that may watch, whenever place and time that you come across these videos, it's really directed to those of you, not just those of you, but it's directed to all people. But I want those who are going through their spiritual awakening to know that you are not alone. And we're here for you. Just reach out, hit us in the DMs.
Right.
And yeah.
All right.
Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, fam.
Love and light.
Shalom.